Melissa Cruz, 30, is a woman full of personality and fierce ambition. Her dream? To escape the shackles of poverty that have defined her life and weighed heavily on her family for years. In her eyes, the fastest way to rewrite her story was to marry a wealthy man. She wasn't lazy, far from it. Melissa knew how to play her strengths. Her charming looks, natural grace, and a smile that could melt even the most guarded hearts became her tools. Each time she entered a new workplace, she made sure she left an impression. Tight dresses, flirtatious glances, and subtle confidence. But fate had a habit of mocking her hopes. The men she tried to attract were either married or simply uninterested. Time and again, her efforts were met with disappointment, termination, and judgmental stares. And this morning, it was the same. A new day, another job hunt, another fragile hope. Melissa took a deep breath, tied her hair back, slung her worn-out handbag over her shoulder, and stepped out of her shabby apartment. She had no idea that today, everything would change. Forever. Melissa rushed out of her apartment, clutching a half-eaten sandwich from the night before, lips still bare of lipstick. Today was important. She had an interview at Orion Technologies, one of the most prestigious companies she'd ever dared to apply to. Only a few minutes remained until her appointment. Rather than wait for a cab, she opted to run. The building was just 3 blocks away, but trouble, as always, found her. A small pebble twisted her ankle, snapping the heel of her shoe clean off. She winced, but kept limping forward, refusing to give up. She couldn't afford to lose another chance. As she neared the building, the elevator doors were closing. "Wait!" Melissa shouted, flinging her bag into the gap just in time. Inside stood a man in a cap and face mask, startled, but silent. "Sorry, I'm late for an interview. Can you hold this for a sec?" she panted, handing him her bag without waiting for a reply. Then, using the mirrored wall, she reapplied her powder, fixed her lipstick, and glued her broken heel with emergency adhesive from her purse. The man just watched, a faint smile forming at the corner of his lips. Maybe he'd never met anyone quite like her. Messy, unfiltered, but oddly magnetic. Melissa didn't notice. She took her bag, gave him a polite smile, and stepped out on the 40th floor. What she didn't realize was that the man behind the mask would soon change her life forever. Melissa sat in the lobby, her spirit deflated. Another missed opportunity. She bit her lip, swallowing the rising sting of failure. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. An unknown number lit up the screen. "Hello?" she answered, voice trembling slightly. "Ms. Cruz? This is Orion Technologies. Please return to the 40th floor. Someone wants to meet you." Melissa sprang up like she'd been shocked. Her heart pounded as she rushed into the elevator. She didn't know who had intervened, but just one more chance. That's all she needed. When she arrived, she was led to a small conference room where a senior HR manager awaited her. "We've decided to offer you a probationary role as executive secretary." Her mouth fell slightly open. Her eyes lit up like headlights cutting through darkness. Thank you so much. I promise I won't let anyone down." What she didn't know was that the masked man in the elevator had pulled the strings behind the scenes. On her first day, Melissa arrived early, dressed neatly in a white blouse and knee-length skirt, professional but still charming. She was instructed to head to the 41st floor to meet Veronica, the CEO's personal assistant. Melissa knocked 3 times. No response. She cautiously stepped inside. "Good morning, I'm Melissa Cruz, the new—" "I didn't ask your name." The voice was sharp as glass, without even a glance her way. Melissa hesitated. Still, she smiled. "I'm here for the orientation." Veronica continued filing her nails. "Which color suits me better, red or violet?" Red, ma'am." "No, I'll go with violet." Her smirk was laced with scorn. After a moment, she pointed at a mountain of folders. "Photocopy all of that before tomorrow morning, but first, make me a coffee." Melissa nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "Don't call me ma'am, it's irritating. Call me a CEO." She swallowed a sigh. "Yes, a CEO." The stack of papers was endless, the photocopier screeched all night. She skipped lunch just to keep up. By the time the clock hit 6 a.m., she had finished everything, her body aching all over. At 7 a.m., as she returned to work, Veronica was already waiting. "You're late. Sort every document in my office alphabetically, A to Z." Melissa bowed slightly. "Understood, ACEO." Her dream of a secretary job had just turned into a living nightmare. Weeks passed. Melissa worked tirelessly, enduring Veronica's constant orders like an unpaid servant. She hadn't seen the CEO despite occasionally passing by his office. The door was always shut. The swivel chair always faced away. She started to believe she was just another cog in Orion's massive machine. Until one day she brought in documents needing urgent signature. "Good morning, sir. I need your signature on this," she said sweetly, masking her nerves. "Leave it on my desk. Come back later." The voice, it sounded hauntingly familiar. Melissa pressed her lips together, refusing to budge. "But I need it now, sir." "Coffee, please." Still, he didn't turn around. She went to make coffee. When she returned and handed it to him, the swivel chair slowly turned. Melissa froze. Sitting in front of her was the man from the elevator, but not just him. Derek Vance, the man who once broke her heart. She stepped back instinctively. A flood of memories surged through her chest. Of all the paths in the world, fate had led her right back to him, and now he was her boss. After the fateful encounter with Derek, Melissa was like a ship lost at sea. She avoided him, kept things strictly professional, and buried herself in work. But her mind, her heart didn't cooperate. Every time he spoke, her chest tightened. Every glance from him sent a ripple through her soul. They had once been in love, deeply. Back then, Melissa was just an intern in a small company. Derek was the son of the founder, but unlike what people expected, he wasn't arrogant. He preferred being on the ground, working alongside regular staff, escaping the polished shell of his last name. That's what made Melissa fall for him. They kept their love quiet. Secret lunch dates, silent hand-holding in parking lots. They built a world no one knew until his mother found out. One evening, Melissa was forced to leave Derek's life. No warning, no goodbye, just a broken heart left in silence. She thought she'd never see him again, until now. But her swirling emotions were suddenly interrupted by a frantic phone call. Her sister sobbed through the line. "Mom collapsed. The doctors say her heart is failing. She needs a transplant, urgently." Then another message came in. "Your brother's been arrested. He hit a luxury car. The owner's demanding $500,000 or he'll press charges." Melissa felt her world collapse. All she had was $100 money saved. She called everyone she could think of, posted online, messaged old friends, but doors stayed shut. Everyone had their own struggles. That night, she sat alone under a tree in the park, silent. There were no more tears left, only the cold breeze and a crumbling faith. "God, I don't want riches. I don't ask for miracles. Just let me save my mother. Please, spare my brother. Please don't let me be helpless anymore." Her hands trembled as she clasped them tightly. The next morning, she returned to the hospital and nearly collapsed in shock. Her mother was no longer in the ICU. "She's had the surgery," the doctor explained gently. "She's recovering well now." "And my brother? He's been released. Someone took care of the paperwork and bail." Melissa stared, unable to process it. "Who?" The doctor smiled. "A man. No name. But he said, 'Tell her her family is safe now.'" Melissa didn't need a name. Her heart knew the truth. There was only one man who had ever helped her in silence, Derek Vance. Melissa headed straight to Derek's office. She couldn't wait any longer. She needed to say thank you, even just once. But the door didn't open to Derek. It opened to his mother, Elena Vance. Melissa froze. No, it couldn't be. The same woman who once forced her to leave Derek now stood right in front of her. Elena Vance. The name stabbed her heart like a knife she'd never pulled out. "What are you doing here?" Elena's voice was ice. "A secretary now? Still clinging to my son, I see." Melissa took a deep breath. "I'm just doing my job, ma'am. I don't intend to take anything from anyone." "Elena!" Derek's voice rang out as he stepped in between them. "Enough!" But his mother wasn't finished. "You'd throw your future away for someone like her? You know exactly where she comes from." Melissa clenched her fists, holding back the tears welling in her eyes. "Ma'am? Yes. I come from nothing, I know that. But I work for what I have. And I've never asked anything from your family. Elena, if you insult her one more time, I'll walk out of this company. For good." Silence filled the room like a frozen gust. Melissa looked down. "Thank you for everything you did for my family, but I can't let this go on." She removed her employee badge and placed it on the desk. "Melissa!" Derek called after her. She was already walking away, tears falling freely. Melissa walked out of Orion's tower with heavy steps. Her chest ached. She knew she'd done the right thing, choosing dignity and peace over emotion. But why did it hurt this much? She was crossing the street, tears still fresh, when a voice called behind her. "Melissa, wait!" She turned. It was Derek, holding a travel bag. "Well, why are you here?" He stopped in front of her, breathless. "I'm coming with you." "What?" "I'm leaving the company. My mother doesn't get to control my life anymore. And you're the only person I want to walk with." Melissa shook her head, tears flowing again. "You'll lose everything." "No," Derek said, gripping her hand. "Without you, it all means nothing." For a brief moment, it felt like the world had paused. Just the two of them, no past, no expectations, no noise. Suddenly, a van screeched to a stop. Its door flung open, and two masked men grabbed them and pulled them inside. Melissa screamed, "Derek?" He tried to shout, but they gagged him. She kicked and struggled. Darkness, panic, her world spun. It felt like the end. But for Derek and Melissa, it was only the beginning. Melissa struggled helplessly, her wrists bound tightly to the chair with zip ties. Her mouth was taped shut. Tears welled in her eyes. The room was dim, the walls peeling, the concrete floor cold. Everything felt like a living nightmare. Across from her sat Derek, tied the same way, his mouth gagged, his eyes filled with panic as he looked at her. Then came a hulking man with full-sleeve tattoos, carrying a handgun. He smirked. "She cares a lot about you. Let's see how much." He ripped the tape off Melissa's mouth and leaned in. "Tell me, do you really love him?" Melissa choked on her words. She looked at Derek, then back at the man. I love him." He chuckled darkly. How sweet, but not enough. He cocked the gun. "Wait, don't hurt him. If someone has to die, let it be me." Derek's eyes reddened. He thrashed against his restraints. Melissa's voice trembled. "I left him once, because I was forced to. But I never stopped loving him. If this is how it ends, at least let me say that." She closed her eyes, bracing for the end. One last breath, one last heartbeat. Then, the gun was raised, and then, bang. Melissa screamed. But there was no blood. Instead, confetti. Lights flipped on. The masked kidnappers pulled off their disguises. Derek still sat there, but now he was grinning. "Happy birthday, Melissa." She blinked in disbelief. Then through the door came Derek's grandmother, holding a cake. "Surprise, sweetheart?" The old woman smiled warmly. Melissa was speechless. She cried, she laughed, and then punched Derek in the arm. "You're insane." "Crazy about you," he replied. "But seriously." He dropped to one knee, holding a sparkling ring. "Melissa Cruz, will you marry me?" Melissa didn't answer right away. She just stared at Derek, hands over her mouth, tears still falling. not out of fear and not out of anger anymore, but because she never imagined someone would go to such ridiculous lengths just to make her smile. After a long pause, she nodded. "Yes, I do." Cheers erupted from the kidnappers, who were, in fact, Derek's old friends and a few loyal former employees. His grandmother clapped with joy, eyes glistening with emotion. It was a moment Melissa would never forget. 3 months later, they left the city behind. There was no extravagant wedding, just a small garden celebration in Melissa's hometown, where wildflowers bloomed and everything was as simple as their love. Derek's father attended. He hugged Melissa tightly and whispered, "Thank you," for not giving up on him. As for Derek's mother, she declined the invitation. But Melissa wasn't hurt. She no longer needed anyone's approval. She had chosen Derek, and he had chosen her. They settled in a cozy little house at the edge of a quiet village, with 2 apple trees in the backyard and an old swing on the porch. Every morning, Melissa brewed Derek's coffee, the same blend he'd loved since the office days. Eventually, they had twins. Life grew noisier, messier, but also warmer and more complete. The house had grown quiet now. The twins were asleep. The rain whispered softly on the roof, and in that silence, a memory stirred. One quiet afternoon, Derek wrapped his arms around her as she rocked the babies to sleep. "I brought you tulips and chocolate," he whispered. "Again?" she chuckled. "Are you trying to bribe me?" "No," he murmured. "I'm just loving you, in the simplest way I know." There was no glitz, no grandeur, but to them, it was everything. That evening, the rain came gently, the scent of wet earth mixed with the soft tapping of wind against the window pane. Melissa had just put the twins to sleep when she heard familiar footsteps behind her. Derek wrapped his arms around her, resting his chin on her shoulder. "I went through my old mailbox today, and I found the first letter you ever wrote me when we were still in love." "The one I slipped into your desk drawer?" She laughed softly. "Yeah, you wrote, 'I don't have the courage to say this, so I'll write. But if you ever read this someday, I hope by then I'll be brave enough to love you fully." His voice turned low. Melissa turned to face him, her hand gently on his cheek. "I wasn't brave enough back then, but I chose you now." Derek smiled. "And I'll keep choosing you, every single day, always." They sat together on the porch. The rain grew heavier, but neither moved. Derek took off his coat and draped it over her shoulders. "Do you remember the elevator?" she asked. "Of course. You were fixing your heel, doing your makeup, handing me your bag, a beautiful mess. And you smiled like an idiot. Because I knew fate was happening right in front of me." Melissa leaned her head against his shoulder. She closed her eyes and smiled. "Do you think we'll always be this happy?" Derek didn't answer right away. He just held her hand tighter. "We may not avoid the storms, but I promise if you're willing to hold my hand, then no matter what falls apart in this world, I'll be right here beside you." Under that small porch roof, they sat in silence. No more words were needed. Only love and peace. Not a perfect story, but a real one. And that was more than enough.